Before we start this video proper about the ZZR 1100, I want you to watch exactly why I love this bike so much. Okay, hello guys, welcome to my new video. Those of you who've watched the videos that I posted on YouTube will have seen videos of me riding this one, the ZX11, as they call it in America, or in Europe, the ZZR 1100, and also the ZX14R. Now, I think it's about time that you had a look at this girl. Now, before we start, I have to admit that I am a ZZR 11 fan. I have been ever since they came out, and I got my first one in 1995, I think it was. So I really love these bikes. But I'm now gonna, take the camera around so you can get a good look at this beast, and I'll give you some information about the ZZR 1100 and why I believe that it's so great. Okay. Okay, so here is the ZZR 11, and in my mind, to me, one of the greatest motorcycles ever made. Others will disagree, and that's fine. However, for me, there's not much that comes close. Alright, so let's have a look a little bit in detail. This is a D1. Originally 1993, but it wasn't sold until 95 because it was a display bike here at Kawasaki Alabang in the Philippines. So as you can see from the mileage, I hope, it's now on 46,899, which is very low compared to the mileages that you do in Europe. The reason for that, it was owned by somebody who never rode it, and then somebody else who collected bikes, which meant that the bodywork and such was in pretty good condition when I got it. But I have spent a fortune rectifying faults that were mainly caused because of the fact the bike didn't do any mileage. So everything on it is original except one thing, which I'll mention in a minute. Right down to the washers. I get everything from Kawasaki, and in the background you can see some storage lockers which is full of spare parts. So let's start at the front. Now, the one thing I said that wasn't original is this front mudguard. The reason being is there is a design error really on these bikes, and this nut here, or this bolt, and this design, although great to look at, what it actually does is put a lot of stress in this area here, so it's quite common for them to snap off here, and my original one has snapped off several times. It's now being repaired, and while it was being repaired I got a Chinese copy, which I have to say is not bad at all, a bit lighter than the original, but overall very good. So on the front here we've got the Tokiko brakes. Obviously compared to modern brakes, they're okay, they don't have the same power, but if they're serviced regularly and kept up to spec, they do a very good job of hauling this monster down from its very high top speeds. Okay, at the front, obviously for the D model, which is we have the twin ram air intakes. On the C model, it only has one, and in fact there's very little that's interchangeable between the C and the D. So coming round, okay, this fairing which keeps wind off you to an incredible extent. It really is good. It's like you're riding even at very, very high speeds in a bubble. I'm talking about high speeds. Remember, this really was the bike that started the top speed wars, if you like. They'll do anywhere between 173 to 180. There's certainly the last ones, the D7s and onwards, they increased the horsepower slightly to combat the Blackbird, and it pushed out 150 horsepower. In fact, under here in the airbox I have the redesigned air intakes from the D7, which increases the flow of air into the carburetors. Obviously, carburetors, no fuel injection, in fact, no nothing. This is how motorcycles for most of their life have been. No electronics, no traction control, no nothing. The only thing that keeps you safe is your right hand. And it's very tempting when you're riding this machine to open it up all the time. It wants to go fast. This one has the original exhaust, as you can see here, and they are like gold dust to get hold of. And if you've got them, like I have, I strip them down and paint the headers every couple of years, because it's almost impossible to get original ones now. And the thing is with the original ones, they look great, but also they sound great. And the bike in general sounds absolutely wonderful. So as you can see, she's in good nick, but she gets used all the time. It's not a garage queen. I ride her several times a week. I tend to go between the two bikes, so I ride them both each week. These two are ones I use for sort of local commuting, you know, nip to the shops, get some cigarettes, things like this. Kawasaki again, Kawasaki Mad, and then we have a Suzuki Raider. Both those are 125. Great fun, by the way, to ride. Okay, so what modifications have I actually made to the bike? Well, the same as on any ZZR11 I've had. I've replaced the fork springs with HyperPro progressive fork springs. The original springs, they're okay. It depends what type of riding you want to entertain, but I find the progressive fork springs give me a little bit more feel on the front end. I also have a HyperPro rear shock, which you can't really see, and again they're matched to the progressive fork springs, and it just makes the bike feel a little tighter. But the biggest thing you can do with these bikes to improve the handling is the concentric chain adjusters here. Now, normally the Allen key aperture here is down here, And what you do is you rotate the rear adjusters through 180 degrees. What this does is it lifts the back of the bike up about 1.5 inches, I think, and therefore changes the steering head angle and makes turning really much sharper. The downside is it raises the seat height at the rear, and when the center stand is down, if you don't have a wooden block, which I have here as you can see, if you don't have a wooden block, then the rear wheel is not off the ground. So when you rotate, you need to have something underneath the center stand to be able to lift the bike up. So why do I love riding this? Well, for the senses, it is tremendous. In the sound is wonderful with the standard exhaust. The engine is great, and I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. Although there's a lot of ZZR 1100 aficionados around the world, and an increasing number, who also find this this bike wonderful. It stirs the soul. That's the best way I can put it. Now, we'll start her up. Here you see I have a voltmeter, which is very common here. Even when it's standing still. So that's my bike, the one that you see in all of the videos that I post when I'm riding the ZZR. Obviously this is the 14R. Similar bikes. Well, this is the granddaddy for this one, but they're similar bikes. And this is a great machine, of course it is, but there's something about riding this one that, as I say, stirs the soul. And isn't that why we all ride motorcycles? Okay, so that's my ZZR 1100. I think the thing to remember with bikes of this era and before is that when you rode them, you had to ride them, and you do have to ride them. There's no ABS, there's no traction control, there is nothing. The thing that keeps you safe is your head. They demand total concentration. Now, don't get me started on rider aids, but it's an undiluted experience riding bikes like this. You have to blip the throttle yourself. You have to make sure that the timing of the down change is fine, otherwise you'll lock up the wheel. And to me, that is what motorcycling is all about. Now, I'm an old fart, but I tell you, there is nothing. These things will shift. Obviously, they're very fast. Still, even in this day and age, you would be amazed how shocked some of the younger riders are when you blast away from them. And there is nothing more satisfying, believe me, when you're riding a bike with no electronics and you're out riding with a group of other riders, they've all got modern machinery, and you stuff this old girl up the inside of them going into a bend. I tell you, it is amazing. It's an amazing feeling. And the satisfaction you get from knowing that it's you control everything. On the downside is you get it wrong and you'll pay the price. But hell, that's why we ride motorcycles, not to pay the price, but to test ourselves. And this girl does it for me. I will never sell this. And no matter if I get to 80 years old, as long as I can get my leg over this, in preference to getting my leg over anything, okay, then I'll continue riding. So, a little introduction about the ZZR. I haven't gone into all the performance figures and brake horsepower. You guys know all that, okay? Just enough to say that it's damn fast. It goes as fast as you want to go. And to be honest, I find myself traveling at the same speed on this one as I do on the ZX14. In roads where I'm doing 220 on this, I'm doing 220 kilometers per hour on this. So, but I think that applies to all of the bikes of this type, be it the Blackbird, the Busa, the ZX14R. You're limited by the road conditions or the traffic. You're not limited by the performance of the machine. But hey, that's why we buy them. Okay, so thanks for watching my little introduction. And on the video, I'll intersperse a couple of small clips of from my previous videos, just to reinforce what I'm saying about what great fun these machines are. So whatever you ride, whatever brand, whatever style, cruiser, enjoy yourself, ride fast.